Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Please subscribe and hit the bell icon. Gold Rush Parker Schnabel reacts to Ness return. Last season, fans started growing frustrated with Gold Rush thanks to the struggles of Fred Lewis. This season, the show tried to course correct by ditching Fred and bringing back the popular Ness, who took off last season for personal reasons. According to Parker Schnabel, bringing back Rick was about a lot more than helping the show. Here is what Parker had to say about Rick's return to Gold Rush. Parker Schnabel talks Ness return. While most Gold Rush fans felt Ness returning would save the show, Parker Schnabel was not sold. While Rick has been a successful miner on the reality TV show, his no-showing last season hurt the series. Parker wasn't quite as sure about Rick's return to the show. However, in the end, he is glad it happened. While many fans were hoping Rick would help make Gold Rush enjoyable again, Parker had other things in mind. Parker said that he was just glad that Rick was okay. Last season, Rick's crew went to find out why he no-showed the season. He admitted he was going through depression issues and was seeing a therapist. He said he hadn't recovered from his mother's death. He also had seasonal depression issues on top of it all. Rick seemed to be in a bad place. Things got worse when he broke off his engagement with his fiancée, Lisa Mary. She accused him of cheating, and things seemed to go from bad to worse. When it comes to Parker Schnabel, all of that was more important than the drop in quality of Gold Rush thanks to names like Fred Lewis. "I was just glad he was all right," Parker said via TV Insider. "Obviously, he went through a lot. He seems to be back in a good headspace. He had definitely seemed pretty normal to me every time I saw him." The best news is that Parker said that Rick seemed fine now, and that a lot of recent rumors were just escalating things that aren't true. Ness on Gold Rush this season. Ness returned to Gold Rush and put his crew back together again. However, what fans saw this season was a roller coaster of events for the miner. While Parker said that it is people escalating things, Gold Rush seems to have painted it in this light for the reality TV star. Rick sold his mother's home to make this run on the show possible. He hadn't even gone to the home since her death as of last season. However, it seems he has put that behind him and used it to move on. Rick said this is a gamble and he has to succeed or end it all. Rick also said the best is yet to come. At the end of the season, it gets pretty dangerous. It always comes to the call of when to pull everyone out, and it's not worth it anymore, via TV Insider. Parker Schnabel, the young and fiercely ambitious miner who's become the face of the Discovery Channel's hit show Gold Rush, had just settled into his camp chair, his eyes scanning the horizon of his sprawling claim in Alaska. The sun hung low, casting long shadows across the rocky terrain. The season was just beginning, and Parker was already deep in thought, planning the moves that would secure him another record-breaking haul of gold. But today, something had shifted in the air, an unexpected twist that sent a ripple through the tight-knit mining community. The news had broken like a thunderclap. Ness, Parker's former right-hand man, and the rugged, charismatic miner who had struck out on his own 3 years ago, was returning to the goldfields after a season-long hiatus. Rick's return wasn't just a minor blip on the radar. It was a seismic event that would inevitably alter the landscape of the show and the dynamics of the gold mining world. Parker heard the news while overseeing the setup of his wash plant, the massive piece of machinery that would be key to his season's success. His reaction was instant but nuanced. He felt a flicker of surprise, mixed with a twinge of curiosity, and something he wasn't quite ready to admit, excitement. Rick had been more than just an employee. He'd been a friend, a confidant, and for a while, a key player in Parker's operation. Their relationship had been marked by camaraderie, but also tension, competition, and a fair share of disagreements. Parker paused, wiped his brow, and smirked slightly as he considered the implications of Rick's return. Rick always had that fire, he muttered to himself. I knew he wouldn't stay away for long." The thought of Rick's return brought back a flood of memories. Parker remembered their first season together, when Rick was still a rookie in the mining world, eager to learn but rough around the edges. Parker had taken him under his wing, showing him the ropes, pushing him hard, and in doing so, had forged a bond that was both tough and resilient. But over time, that bond had frayed. Rick had grown tired of playing second fiddle and had taken the bold step to start his own mining operation. Their parting had been cordial, but it was clear there were lingering tensions. Rick had wanted to prove himself, to show that he could strike it rich on his own terms. Parker had respected that, even admired it, but he couldn't help but feel a competitive spark whenever he saw Rick's crew on screen, battling the elements and struggling to make ends meet. Now, as Parker sat back, he couldn't help but wonder what had prompted Rick's return. Was it unfinished business, a hunger to get back into the game after a rough season? Or was it something deeper, a realization that the gold fields, with all their hardships and rewards, were a place Rick couldn't leave behind? Whatever the reason, Parker knew one thing for sure. Rick's return would bring a new level of excitement and unpredictability to the show, and that was something Parker thrived on. He loved the challenge, the competition, the constant drive to push himself further, to dig deeper, and to find the next big pay streak. When asked by a producer for his reaction to Rick's return, Parker chuckled and shrugged, a hint of a grin on his face. "Rick's always been a wild card," he said. "I'm curious to see what he's bringing to the table this time. You know, he's got a lot to prove after a year off, and I think he's coming back with something to prove to himself and everyone else." There was an edge to his voice, a subtle challenge embedded in his words. Parker wasn't just talking about Rick, he was talking to him, throwing down the gauntlet in the way only a seasoned miner could. The gold fields were a place where reputations were made and broken, where success was measured in ounces and failures left scars both visible and unseen. But beneath the competitive edge, there was a genuine respect. Parker knew what it took to step away, to face failure and the unknown, and then to come back again, determined to give it another shot. He admired that kind of grit, even if he wouldn't openly admit it. The days passed, and the chatter among the crews grew louder. Rick Ness's return was the talk of the campfires, the mining pits, and the break rooms. Everyone had an opinion, a theory, or a prediction. Would Rick try to reclaim his status as one of the top miners in the Klondike? Would he try to join forces with another crew? Or would he go solo again, determined to do things his way? For Parker, the stakes had just been raised. He knew Rick well enough to understand that he wouldn't come back unless he had a plan. And whatever that plan was, Parker was determined to stay a step ahead. He called a meeting with his crew, laying out the strategy for the season, emphasizing the need for speed, efficiency, and relentless focus.